The first bell of Westbrook High rang like any other morning, slicing through the hum of students chatting, the thud of sneakers, and the scent of fresh cafeteria coffee wafting across the hall. But that morning was different, because it was the first day for a quiet, soft-spoken girl named Emily Carter. She walked through those massive glass doors clutching a worn-out backpack, her nervous eyes scanning a world that seemed far too loud, far too shiny, and far too rich for someone like her. Her father had passed away the previous month, leaving her and her mother drowning in medical bills. When they moved to this new town for a cheaper life and better opportunities, Emily had no idea she was walking straight into a nightmare wrapped in designer clothes and privilege. As she took her first steps into the hallway, her shoes squeaked slightly on the polished floor. Heads turned. Whispers started. "Who's that girl?" someone murmured. Another snickered. "Probably another charity case." The words pricked her skin like needles, but she kept walking, clutching her notebook tight, pretending she couldn't hear them. Her eyes were fixed on the floor until a sudden loud laugh echoed down the hallway. Ethan Blackwell, the school's golden boy, stood near the lockers surrounded by his usual entourage, Jason, Cole, and Brianna. Ethan was everything Westbrook High worshipped: tall, rich, handsome, the son of a real estate mogul who owned half the town. His father donated a new science wing last year, so the teachers adored him too. But behind that perfect smile and those expensive clothes hid a cruel amusement. He loved breaking people just to see how much they could take before they shattered. When Emily accidentally brushed past him while trying to find her locker, her books spilled on the floor. The entire hallway seemed to stop. Ethan looked down at the scattered notebooks, then at her trembling hands. "Hey," he said with a smirk, "watch where you're going, new girl." Emily quickly knelt down to pick up her books. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Ethan chuckled and exchanged a glance with his friends. "Sorry," he mocked. "You think that's enough?" Jason leaned against a locker, sipping from his steaming cup of coffee, while Brianna filmed the scene on her phone, grinning from ear to ear. Ethan took the coffee cup from Jason's hand, still laughing. "Let's give our new student a warm welcome," he said sarcastically. Before anyone could react, he tilted the cup and poured the hot coffee straight over Emily's white sweater. The liquid splashed across her chest and arms, and she gasped as the burning heat made her flinch. A few students gasped, others laughed nervously. "Oops," Ethan said mockingly, his tone dripping with arrogance. "Guess she likes her mornings extra hot." Emily froze, her face pale, her lips trembling, her eyes wide with shock and pain. The coffee dripped down her sleeves and pooled onto the floor. The laughter around her grew louder, echoing like cruel music. She wanted to disappear. Her throat tightened, her vision blurred, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not in front of them. She turned and ran toward the restroom, pushing through the crowd that had gathered, their phones already recording. Inside the restroom, she locked herself in a stall and leaned against the cold wall. Tears finally broke free. Her skin stung from the burn, and her heart felt heavier than it ever had. "Why?" she whispered through shaky breaths. "Why me?" But in that moment of pain, something inside her shifted, a spark, small but fierce. She had always believed in kindness, in turning the other cheek, but now, she felt something else, something darker. Outside, Ethan and his friends were still laughing, watching the video replay. "Men, that was classic," Jason said between laughs. Brianna uploaded the clip to her private group chat with the caption, "Poor girl needed a wake-up call." Within minutes, it was everywhere. By lunchtime, everyone in school had seen the video. But 2 minutes after it was posted, just 2 minutes, the laughter started to die. Because what none of them expected was the reaction that followed. As the video circulated, students who usually stayed silent began to comment, not with laughing emojis, but with disgust. "That's cruel. She could have been seriously burned." "That's not funny, Ethan." The whispers turned against him. Even some of his so-called friends looked uneasy. Ethan brushed it off at first, saying, "It's just a joke." But the unease in the air was growing. By the time lunch rolled around, the principal's voice came over the intercom, summoning Ethan Blackwell to the office immediately. His smirk faltered. Meanwhile, Emily sat quietly in the nurse's office. The nurse had treated her minor burns and offered her a fresh shirt from the lost and found. She didn't speak much, just nodded when asked if she was okay. But her mind was racing. She couldn't stop replaying that moment, The heat, the laughter, the humiliation. She wanted to vanish. Yet deep down, she knew running away wasn't the answer anymore. When Ethan entered the principal's office, his father was already there. Stern-faced, expensive suit, cold eyes. Principal Hayes held a printed photo from the video in his hand. "Ethan," he said gravely, "this behavior is unacceptable. We could face serious consequences. That girl could have been hurt badly." Ethan rolled his eyes. "It was just coffee, sir. Everyone's overreacting." But his father's glare silenced him. "You're grounded," Mr. Blackwell said firmly. "And you're apologizing today." Ethan clenched his jaw. Apologizing was beneath him. But for once, his father's tone left no room for argument. That afternoon, he walked to the nurse's office where Emily sat reading quietly. She looked up as he entered, her eyes red from crying. He hesitated for a moment, then muttered, "Hey, I didn't mean for it to go that far." "Sorry." Emily looked at him, really looked. She saw not just the arrogance but the hollowness behind his eyes. "You're not sorry," she said softly. "You just don't like what people are saying about you." Ethan froze. No one had ever spoken to him like that. For a moment, guilt flickered across his face, but he quickly masked it with a smirk. "Believe what you want." He turned and left, but something about her calm, fearless gaze lingered in his mind. Later that evening, as he scrolled through his phone, Ethan saw the video again. But this time, it wasn't being shared as a joke. It was trending on local forums, with comments blasting him for bullying, for cruelty, for entitlement. His followers dropped, and classmates unfollowed him in droves. The reputation he had built for years, gone in hours. Even the local news station picked up the story, calling it the coffee incident. His father's company started receiving angry messages online, threatening boycotts. Suddenly, Ethan's world began to crumble. Meanwhile, Emily sat at home, wrapped in a blanket, her mom beside her. When her mother saw the video, tears welled up in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," she whispered. Emily just shook her head. "Don't be, Mom. Maybe this happened for a reason." That night, she opened her laptop and began typing a short message she titled, "To the Ones Who Laugh." In it, she poured out everything she felt, the pain, the humiliation, but also her refusal to let cruelty define her. She ended with a single line, "You can pour coffee on my skin, but you can't burn my soul." By morning, her post had gone viral. Students from other schools began sharing it, praising her strength. News anchors called her the brave new girl who spoke back. The same people who had laughed at her yesterday now looked at her with admiration. When Ethan arrived at school that morning, he saw posters on the lockers. Quotes from Emily's post shared as messages against bullying. For the first time, the hallways that once cheered for him now fell silent when he walked by. He glanced at Emily across the hall. She was standing with a few new friends, smiling faintly. He felt something in his chest twist, guilt, shame, and maybe respect. 2 minutes of laughter had destroyed everything he thought he was. But those same 2 minutes had turned Emily from a victim into a voice. And though the story wasn't over yet, everyone at Westbrook High knew things would never be the same again. Before she left class that day, Emily looked at the camera her friend was using to record her message for the school's anti-bullying campaign. Her voice was steady as she said, "If you're watching this, remember, kindness isn't weakness, and no one deserves to be someone else's entertainment. Stand up, even if your voice shakes." And as the video faded, the audience watching her story online, just like your viewers, felt something deep in their hearts.